Now, okay, let's start with cybersecurity. And as usual, if you have questions, feel free to ask the questions right away. And I have also assigned some of you as an admin. Please accept those friends who are coming with. Okay. So when we talk about security, we know that cybersecurity is one of the people say that this is one of the emerging technologies, but it's been there for quite a while. If you look into the global emerging technologies, cybersecurity is there. Here in the list, it's number 14, but the list is not well listed by the what you call it, the importance, but just a list. Let me try to get my tablet to see if I can. Okay, I get it. Let's move this. Okay, where's my? Okay, that's that. Okay, so cybersecurity is considered one of the emerging technologies or the important technologies in the next future, but it is kind of technologies or an area that is of concern of all of us. I'm just going to skip this statistic, you already know, but now let's go on to example of cases. And here is the thing that, sometimes I don't want to say in the public, but for the class, because this is for educational purposes, we're going to discuss some of these cases. I'm not a part of the team that is actually handling cases of BSI, Bank BSI, so I can say, freely. I don't have an agreement or NDA with them. Jadi beberapa waktu yang lalu BSI kena masalah ya. So BSI, Bank BSI, if you have an account on them, you cannot access your account. We were wondering at one point, kenapa kok nggak bisa ya? One point, why happened? And I look around and ask some people, and some of my friends told me that they got a ransomware. Ransomware kind of attack their system. And later on, we'll talk more about what is ransomware, what it can do, and what it can do, and why it is doing that way. Okay, so but basically the ransomware makes the BSI system, the BSI, Bank BSI, kind of down. It cannot perform the transactions. So there are two things that this ransomware gang did to BSI. First, they stole the data. So one of the things they did is actually downloading data. And then the second part, they're deleting or they're encrypting the data, so those data are not available by the banks or the target or the victim. To get the data back, you have to send money to the attacker. So that's why they call it ransomware, because they have some kind of ransom. Okay? So there are two things. They're stealing data, and then they're actually encrypting or deleting data in the server. Now, they ask you for money. If you don't give them money, then you will not get the password to open your files. And then the second part, the newer ransomware, just like what they did to BSI, is actually they're trying to post the data online. So this kind of problem. So what they do is they say, okay, we're going to leak the data. If you don't send us money, then give me 2 days. So it says here, 2 days, 20 hours, 25 minutes, 48 seconds. If you don't give the money, we will publish the data. And they basically give snapshot of list of files that they have. So this is an example of what they have. Although this is not really true, whether these are the real data, but we don't know. But these are what they're saying. Okay, so they say the negotiation period has ended, and the Lockbit ransomware group has finally made all the stolen data from Bank Syariah Indonesia public on the web. So the thing is, we don't know whether these data are important or not, but they are there. So that's the problem with this kind of attack. It's the kind of double whammy. Okay. So and the type of ransomware, this one is called Lockbit. There are many ransomware or malware. Okay, this is one of them. Now, what happened when this happened? They cannot access to our files, meaning they cannot make fake transactions. They cannot change our say data in the bank. They stole the data, but they cannot change it. Now, but what happened if you cannot access your files or your accounts? So here's an example. Some of the people who complain they cannot access the money or the accounts. So this is an example of Armiadi Kopigayo. He is from Aceh, and in that place there's only one bank, Bank Syariah Indonesia. So when the bank went down, there's nothing they can do to perform that transaction. So they said that transaction 30 miliar per hari transaksi kopi Gayo itu ternyata terhenti because they cannot access their money. They cannot buy and sell. This is a problem because there's only one Bank Syariah. So I don't know what happened inside Bank Syariah. There are issues, income still they're still doing transaction merging between these three banks, but what we know is they got ransomware. So that's the final result. Okay, and then they cannot access their files, so that's why they cannot perform their transaction, things like that. Okay. So Bank Mandiri is not Bank Syariah Indonesia is not the only one. So we can see other companies. This is an example of Mandiri Sekuritas. All these examples are the newer ones, but there are more. That before that there was an issue, and somebody said, this Dukcapil, there's a data breach for this Dukcapil. Jadi ini katanya datanya bocor, data Dukcapil kita. So whether this is real or not, I'm not sure, because some people said, the fields here are different the one that they have in Dukcapil. So maybe the data is real, or maybe it is not. Maybe it is data obtained from elsewhere. So it is probably not from Dukcapil, but from elsewhere, but they claim this is the data from Dukcapil. So if you can see all the fields here, these are data that are in personal data that are in your KTP, basically. Whether it is useful or not, we're not sure. I asked a friend of mine, what can you do if you have data of all of this? They're basically, there's no information on your banking or your stock and all your basically cars, houses, and things like that. But what you can do is you can use this data to create a fake account. So you can create, say, using this data to contact pinjaman online, and you can create account using this data in the pinjaman online application. So you can actually create fake transactions. It is more involved, but it can be done. And then the other thing, and people are talking about this in terms of Pemilu 2024, because all this data can be used to create fake support for a particular political party. For example, when you want to get support from people from in your region, for example, you can use this data to create a fake support. You can list all these people, and you can claim that these people are supporting you as part of calon, I don't know, caleg from this such and such party. So it is going to be difficult later on, but it has happened. And other than this, okay, now this one is a bit questionable. This was also earlier, July 23rd, and this is that there was an issue into BCA credit card breach. I talked to some people who are related to this, and they are not sure whether this is the real data. In fact, what they have done is they only submitted, I think, 3 or 4 or 5 samples of the what they call data breach. Presumably, they did not get the data from the BCA system, but they got the data from social engineering. So they are trying to kind of talk to some people and then try to get your data, your credit card information. So there are actually not cracking or hacking BCA system, but they are attacking BCA customers. So that's what they are doing. So this may not be real. Okay. So based on this, we have to be careful when somebody claim there was an issues, security issues. We have to make sure whether this is true and security issues, or this is just basically people trying to get spotlight, to get publicity of this kind of messages. Okay. Passport, the same thing. So you can see all of this data from banks that has values, because there's actually money in it, to personal information in Dukcapil, passport, and so on and so forth. This, again, we don't know whether it is true or not. Now, so those are cases that involve breaching into a system, like somebody else's servers, or instead companies, organizations, and so on and so forth. But we do have also attacks against human or against customers. So these are examples of attack against customers. So what they've done is they pretend to have something and send it to you, but what they want to do is they want to ask you to install APK or APK. This is actually an installer for Android, right? Android application, right? So what they are trying to do is ask you to install this application. Basically, they're trying to trick you to install this application. So the first thing that they did, this was an example. They said that, you know, you have a packet, because in Indonesia people are buying stuff, right? So it says you have a packet from JNT. Selamat siang, Kak. Benar dengan Salma, ada paket di JNT. And sometimes we are not sure whether we actually receiving a packet because we buy something, or somebody sending a packet to us, and the message says ini paketnya, lihat foto paket. And sometimes they said alamatnya, tolong dicek alamatnya salah, or basically they're trying to trick you to click on this. So this one is lihat foto paket, which is supposed to be an image, right? Image of your packets. But if you look into this, it says APK, which actually a sign of an application. So some people said, ini paket apa itu? Ya itu paket, tolong dicek dulu benar nggak paket apa paketnya benar atau enggak. When you click this and you install this application on your cell phone, basically this application will take over your application. So when you have, say, an OTP from your bank or your application, other applications, the one-time password that is sent to your mobile phone, it actually can be captured by this application and send it elsewhere. So this is an example of what we call a social engineering. Social engineering. So you're trying to do something social engineering. They changed also the message. So this one was packets, but they changed it also into undangan pernikahan. So that's what they did. They said, okay, now since everybody has known about the, what you call it, a packet, and you know that is fake. Now they change it undangan pernikahan instead. Oke, ini adalah surat undangan. Kami berharap kehadirannya. Ini siapa? Salah kirim? Enggak, gitu ya. Coba nanti kita klik gitu. If we click it, and again, basically that what they're trying to do is to push the APK or the application to you. And this one is this one is an attack on Android. If you have iPhone, it doesn't make sense. But this is one of their attempts to do that. Okay, so this is one of the example Now, before that, there was also a similar attack, but this one is about what they call it, a new transaction. If you send money using your bank account, there is a cost of 6,500 rupiah per transaction, right? If you are using BFast, BI Fast, it is 2,500, right? But basically it says, well, instead of charging 6,500 per transaction, 6,500 per transaction, we're going to change the fee for transaction. It's 150,000 per month. It is unlimited transaction. So if you have lots of transactions, it is cheaper to do it this way. Most people do not. So most people will say, oh, I don't want this. It says if you didn't do anything, that it means you agree to do that. This is kind of a fake message, right? If you do not agree, please respond to this and do something. Here's an example. Bank BRI. This is also Bank BRI, a different kind of fake message, but the content is similar. Basically, if you don't want to, you can click this website. So it will ask you to do something. The previous slide, it will ask you to install APK, and this attack is different. It will ask you to go into a website, and the website is formulirpilihantarif.com, which actually a fake website, and there they're trying to get your ID, so, or credential. They're going to they want to get your information, your ID, your personal ID, your bank account, and things like that. So based on that, they're trying to get into your bank BRI account or other banks. It's the same thing. My example here is only Bank BRI, but this kind of attack is not limited to Bank BRI. It is actually attack on all kind of banks. Okay, they're selling this. Now, if you think about it, this kind of attack, right? The same with previous attack. For most people, we understand that this is kind of a fake message, but I have heard friends and families who fell into this kind of attack. They installed this and they have problem with their accounts right now because there were fake transactions. So this actually real. This is actually real. Okay. So these are examples in Indonesia where people are trying to get into social engineering. And if you can see this, they're not trying to hack into your account, or they're not trying to attack the website or the application of the banks or your transaction system. What they're trying to do is they're trying to trick you. So the weakest link here is the human aspect. Okay. So this kind of fraud is difficult because there's nothing the bank can do to protect against this. The transaction looks like just normal transaction. It looks like a normal transaction from you. So that's the problem. So that's why banks have to educate their users that this, be careful with this kind of attack. Okay. Now, these are examples in Indonesia, and you can also have examples outside Indonesia. For example, here, if you are using Windows and you are using Microsoft Exchange and you need to update your system, but basically if you do not upgrade, then there's going to be an attack for your computer. This is more involved, but basically this is to give you an example that the attempt of attacks are not aimed into banks in Indonesia only. It will also attack big companies like this, Microsoft, Apple, the same thing. Yeah. So this is your Windows desktop. This is iPhone, your iPhone. The same thing, Macintoshes. It is the kind of attacks that I explained earlier is not limited to Android handphone only. It will attack all kinds of platforms. Okay. Now, people are talking about ChatGPT. We have talked about this in AI, where we use ChatGPT to, help us in writing sentences, rewrite sentences. But see, the thing is, there was also data breach, but we did not know what kind of data that they have on us. Probably what we type in ChatGPT, all the records there. Well, we are not sending anything to ChatGPT. We are not typing our password or anything like that. But basically, our behavior can be analyzed. So this is not good. Again, I made videos explanation about technologies behind this kind of attacks. For example, here's just an example. Don't worry about this. This is a bit too technical. But if you are in programming, if you are developing applications and those applications are using Java language, I know enterprise, there are many enterprise who are using Java language as the platform to develop applications. So here's an example of a library that is basically being used by many Java application. The library is called Log4j. This is a library to do some kind of logging in your application. So this library has been there for quite a while, but somebody decided to add another feature in it, and the feature apparently is exploitable. This feature was there since 2012 or 13. So it took the attacker, took us to notice that there is actually a flaw in the applications in the library itself. It took us maybe 10 years to understand this, right? Now, the problem with this, if you have this kind of library in your application, then you are prone to remote execution. So somebody can actually access your server from remote. And this is a serious issue because basically somebody can access your server from remote. And what can you do if you have access your server from remote? Well, you can actually install application. You can install a ransomware. So ransomware, one of the things that they can do to put ransomware, in previous slides, you ask the user to click, to accept, to do something so that the application, the ransomware, the malware is installed on your computer and cell phone and things like that. But this one is different. The attacker is looking at the flaw in the application, in the software, and they exploit that the flaw in the system, and they install a ransomware from remote. So once they install this ransomware, you have another ransomware problem. Just like the Lockbit, the ransomware can be used to get your data, encrypt your files, and things like that. So here's the problem of Log4j. Now, what if I don't have applications in Java? We don't write applications in Java. We actually bought applications from vendors and things like that, right? Sorry to say that some of the vendors are using this Log4j and they did not even know what's happening. So this also happened in VMware. If you were using VMware long time ago, around this time, VMware also had this problem because they are using a Log4j. So if you're using VMware in your system, then you are prone also to this. Kind of scary because we did not know, right? Whether we are prone to this. We are not developer. We don't develop software. We buy application. We buy from vendors, and these vendors are not small vendors. They are big, popular vendors, and they have this kind of problem. So what you do is basically simple. You upgrade. Now, but we don't know, right? We did not know, or we don't know whether we have to upload unless the vendors are notifying you, right? When they said, okay, Pak, Bu, you need to upgrade the software. But if they don't say that, then we don't know, and we are prone to this kind of exploit. So my point in this is to give you examples of cases that we are having right now. These are recent cases. I used to take all the cases and record out of this. Before the internet was popular, actually I do clippings from the newspaper. I clip newspapers and I record all these attacks. So I'll give you 5 more examples. Those examples are the one that they're trying to get your information, your data, and things like that. But here is another example of case where you did not do anything, but your account changed. For example, this was in 2019, so this was 4 years ago. And then it says, I don't know whether this happened to you, but this happened to some people I know. So ada ini ya, Bank Mandiri, some of the accounts saldonya berubah. Ada yang nambah, ada yang jadi nol, ada yang nambah, ada bahkan ada yang bertambah sampai 95 juta. One of my students told me, Pak, saldo saya bertambah, Pak. Oh, bertambah berapa? 500.000. Terus kamu apain? Ya saya ambil, Pak. Dasar mahasiswa ya. So yeah, this happened in Indonesia, and so saldo nasabah Bank Mandiri berubah, 90% kembalikan uang. So my student is part of the 10% who did not return the money. Tapi kalau yang kayak gini gimana coba? As a customer, what should we do? All we have to do is to check our account balance and things like that, right? Jadi kasus-kasus yang terakhir-terakhir ini, yang kena beberapa bank ini, maka yang harus kita lakukan adalah kita cek saldo dari rekening kita. That's all what we can do. And if we think that there might be a problem, change our password. Yeah, change our password, change our PIN. That's it. That's the only thing that we can do. And usually the attackers cannot do anything unless they, you know, they taking the whole system down, change everything. But usually when we change our password or a PIN, that solves the problem. But make sure we check our bank accounts. Jadi pengalaman saya menangani sistem tuh, attacker biasanya ngelihat bank account yang jarang dipakai, atau yang tidur, atau yang apa ya. Karena orangnya, ini nggak peduli nih orangnya. Dia akan ngecek lagi 6 bulan lagi, tahun depan dia akan cek gitu ya. Tahu-tahu pas dicek udah nggak ada gitu, atau udah berkurang 700 juta gitu kan ya. Nah biasanya memang yang rekeningnya gede-gede ya, rekening tidur tuh gede-gede biasanya. Jadi untuk melawan yang seperti itu, maka cek akunnya, cek saldo segala macam, sehingga orang kalau dicek, oh ini si yang punya akun ini ngecek rekeningnya dan cermat terhadap rekeningnya. Ya, jadi paling gampang tips saya cek saldo aja ya. Secara berkala cek saldo. Oke. WhatsApp down, pernah juga WhatsApp down, but this one was actually the timing was good. Jadi ini down-nya dari malam sampai pagi Indonesian time. Jadi most Indonesians did not feel about this karena dari tengah malam sampai pagi. Jadi kita bangun-bangun kita udah jalan lagi ya. Kalau enggak pasti ribut ya seluruh Indonesia. WhatsApp nggak jalan berapa? 6 jam, 8 jam. Wah, itu tangan kita gatal ya. Anyway. So the last part here, an example of what we call a ransomware. Okay, ransomware it is part of malware. What is malware? Malware ini adalah namanya itu malicious, memang jahat ini, malicious ya. Jadi this is a kind of software that is designed to do something malicious. An example would be virus ya, virus dulu makanya kita harus pakai antivirus ya, karena untuk melawan ini dulu yang terkenalnya virus. But there are other things than just virus. There's Trojan horse, there's backdoors, there's other things. Jadi malware ini banyak. Ada virus, ada backdoor, ada Trojan horse, macam-macam ya gitu. But the most recent cases are ransomware. So apa itu ransomware? Ransomware basically a program that goes into our system. And the first type of ransomware, what they do is they encrypt your files. Here's an example of what used to be famous. Ini tahun 2017 ya, lagi famous. Ini namanya WannaCry. Before WannaCry, there were other malware, but this was the most popular at that time. Jadi WannaCry itu what happened is when you got hit by ransomware, so it will say your important files are encrypted. Okay, so you cannot recover your file. Can I recover your file? Yes, but you have to pay me. How do I pay? Okay, here is an instruction. You have to pay using Bitcoin, and then this is the address of this Bitcoin, and you have to pay. This one is very reasonable, cheap, $300. If you pay $300 worth of Bitcoin, then I will send you the password. And once you have the password, you can open your files again. And they give you usually time. This one is minutes day. So this one is 2 days, almost 3 days, right? This one is almost 3 days. So If you don't pay within 3 days, it will raise your payment. Sorry, it will raise the ransom. It's not going to be 300. It's going to raise into, say, 500, and then goes up to 1,000, and so on and so forth. If you don't do anything within 7 days, your files are lost, and they're not going to do anything. They just ignore you. So this kind of ransomware has become popular because it's easy to attack this from the attacker's point of view. What they have to do is they just spread this ransomware to, you know, like 1,000 or 1 million potential customers, and then just wait. From this 1 million or 1,000 customers targets, then you'll get, you know, 10, 100. So you can multiply those with the amount of ransom. It is actually a nice business model. Jadi ini business plan. So this what happened. I'm going to talk about this later on, but if I'm going to stop in this slide, right? Okay. Now, what I gave you in the previous slides were examples of security kind of problems, like security cases. So in security, when somebody said, Pak Budi, can you tell me and you check the security of my system? So basically the security itself, it's there are many things that we can consider in terms of security, but the easiest way or the common way to talk about security is about these three things. We call it confidentiality, integrity, and availability. And if you call it into a triad, we call it CIA because of the first letter of the aspect or goals. So we are talking about confidentiality, integrity, and availability. If you look into the examples earlier, when they take our data and they publish it on the internet, and when they're trying to get our data, those are attacks against confidentiality. And if you look into the Bank Mandiri examples where your account has been changed from, I don't know, 7 million rupiah into 0 rupiah, so those kind of attacks are related to integrity of the data. And the last one, the one that is related to malware, ransomware, and usually it goes into availability because you cannot access your system. So if you look into the system and if you look into the security, we are talking about the confidentiality, integrity, availability. Of course, there are other security issues such as non-repudiation, access control, and so on and so forth. But the most important aspects are these three, because that's the common way or the easiest. So if somebody said, Pak Budi, I have an internet banking applications, mobile banking applications, or digital payment system, can you check the security? So what I do is I check the confidentiality aspect, the integrity aspect, and the availability aspect of that kind of application, those applications. Oke, before I move on, ada pertanyaan dulu nggak dari ini semua? I can come back into this and I continue. But before that, silakan kalau ada yang bertanya dulu. Kalau tidak ada, sorry. Ya, yes,
mau
go
nanya,
ahead.
Pak.
Ya, boleh.
Yang tadi Bang itu kemungkinan besar ada nggak sih Pak kayak semacam orang dalam gitu untuk membobol itunya Pak, kayak semacam security banknya gitu Pak. Ada kemungkinan seperti itu Pak?
Kalau untuk yang kasus tadi enggak, tapi apakah ada kemungkinan orang dalam mengambil uang orang dalam melakukan itu? Ada. Saya pernah nangani beberapa kasus yang memang orang dalam. Ini sebentar. Ada yang ini recordingnya boleh di stop dulu, di pause dulu. Ada yang. So okay, we continue on this examples of attacks. Those attacks are based on CIA, right? Now, but there are other things that we are going to see in the coming years. It's related to deepfake, because now with the computing power is good enough, and there are applications, libraries that can create fake images, and not fake images. These years they can create fake videos. So you can take my face and an example of my voice, and then you can generate a video that looks like I'm saying something. Jadi ini akan menjadi masalah ya nanti, apalagi kita sebentar lagi adalah pemilu. People are using this to create fake messages, misalnya siapalah ya. Saya nggak tahu yang lagi populer sekarang siapa. Ganjar misalnya, Ganjar dibuatkan video Ganjar sedang Pak Ganjar sedang maki-maki Jokowi gitu ya misalnya itu. Padahal bukan dia gitu ya. Nah, it is difficult. Nah, ini adalah why is happening, because it depends on the ability to separate facts from opinions. And if you look into this, Indonesia is right there underneath. Okay. Jadi kita kemampuan percentage untuk kemampuan membedakan itu rendah, ya, rendah. Sehingga ini there's going to be issues. Kita lihat mudah-mudahan next year is not going to be a big issues, but I can see that there will be deepfake problems next year. Okay. Tapi mudah-mudahan tidak parah lah ya. Tapi we can see that this is a security problem also. And then there's another issues. Now this is a new one in terms of security. It's called cyber threat intelligence. Now this is kind of new in if we talk about new in this field of in science and technology, 5 or 7 years is considered new. This was probably less than 10 years, and people are talking about cyber intelligence. Let me give you an example of what it is. Okay, so assuming we have a system, okay, the system that we have is within these square brackets. Okay, square dotted lines. So this is our system. Now, when we talk about security of our system, we check the vulnerabilities of our system. Okay, so we check our system for vulnerabilities. What we do is we are doing security evaluation or security audit. So this is what we do. This is what my company does. We check vulnerabilities of system. Misalnya ada orang punya aplikasi baru internet banking, kita cek ininya apa kelemahannya. Mobile banking kita cek kelemahannya, and so on and so forth. Jadi kita cek, okay, based on those evaluation or audit, we found vulnerabilities. Some of the vulnerabilities can be fixed, but some cannot due to technical and non-technical reasons. For example, ada vulnerabilities yang nggak bisa kita fix karena dia menunggu vendor, for example, and vendor said, okay, there will be fixed in the next version, which is coming in 6 months or 1 year. So we know that there are vulnerabilities right there, and we have to wait 6 months or 1 year to get it fixed. Our business cannot wait for 6 months or 1 year, right? But a business must go on. So we have to run the system. We have to run the system knowing that there are vulnerabilities. Jadi kita selalu akan menemukan bahwa kita memiliki vulnerabilities yang nggak bisa kita apa-apain ya. Kita akan melakukan evaluasi. Oh, oke, ada kelemahan. Wah, bagaimana? Maka what we do is we put protection, what we call a perimeter protection. So this perimeter protection is a perimeter against these vulnerabilities. We know that there are vulnerabilities, we cannot fix it, so we close it and we put protection in the perimeter. Itu kayak kita punya, misalnya kan ya, kita punya kantor. Kantornya itu nggak ada gembok, di pintu-pintunya nggak berkunci. Walah, gimana, ada ruangan-ruangan meeting rooms yang nggak ada kuncinya, classroom yang nggak ada kuncinya, and within these classrooms, meeting rooms ada LCD gede, ada overhead projector, ada sound system dan lain sebagainya, kan banyak juga tuh yang kayak gitu kan ya. Itu bisa dicolong tentu saja. What do we do? Kita buat pagar, kita pasang satpam. I know that there are vulnerabilities, sir, in the system, but we cannot fix it tadi ya karena masalah macam-macamnya. Ada waktu itu juga satu sistem yang punya vulnerabilities. We know that there are vulnerabilities in the operating system. We can upgrade it, and it's not that expensive, about $2,000 or $2,500. So it is fixable, the problem. Unfortunately, on top of that operating system, if we upgrade the operating system, then applications that are being used must be upgraded also. Jadi kalau kita upgrade OS-nya, aplikasi di atasnya harus di-upgrade. Misalnya aplikasi OS-nya di-update, database-nya harus di-update, Oracle-nya harus di-update. If we update the Oracle, maka aplikasi di atasnya, SAP-nya, ERP-nya harus di-update. So what started as $2,000 problem becomes $1 million problem. So we cannot fix it right away because we have to budget it and things like that. Jadi ada juga masalah yang tidak bisa kita selesaikan sekarang karena itu menjadi akhirnya ripple ya. Jadi hanya OS-nya kita perbaiki, ternyata aplikasi database-nya harus upgrade database, aplikasi di atasnya harus di-upgrade segala macam yang mungkin harganya tadinya cuma 2 jutaan menjadi miliaran ya. Jadi nggak bisa di-upgrade sekarang juga. So that's why we keep the system knowing that they're vulnerable within our perimeter. Jadi perimeter itu kita pasangin pagar, kalau kita tahu ya, kalau physical kita pasangin pagar, kita pasangin satpam segala macam. Knowing that there are vulnerabilities. Sama kita pasangin di sistem, kita pasangin firewall, kita pasangin IDS. Those systems are there to protect our vulnerable systems. Yeah. So we have these vulnerabilities inside, and we have protection. We call it perimeter protections. And everything is good and dandy, but sometimes people develop, or attackers, they develop tools, methodologies to exploit these things. Jadi kalau di-exploit ternyata ada juga ya attacker. Nah, those are threats from the external. And the threats are also, there are also threats internal seperti yang kita discuss tadi ya, ada threats yang dilakukan oleh orang dalam. Threats can also be external, okay? But to make it easier, we can see that the threats are from the outside of our system, and it has to go through this protection, the perimeter protection. If the protection is good enough, the threats are being, ignored or not ignored, okay, cancelled or terminated. Jadi kalau ada threats-nya dari luar, dia bisa diproteksi oleh pagar. Ya nggak jadi masalah nih, ancaman-ancaman di luar mental aja di sini ya. But sometimes threats are getting better and there are new known vulnerabilities and the threats can go in. Oke, jadi threats ini bisa masuk ke dalam dan dia mengexercise vulnerabilities-nya ini. Kayak tadi ya, Log4j misalnya udah bertahun-tahun aman, 8 tahun kemudian, how do we know 8 years later gitu ya, baru vulnerabilities yang bisa di-exercise, maka terjadilah incidents. Jadi terjadilah incidents. Ini sebenarnya sama dengan kesehatan kita. Kita kelihatan aman-aman, sehat-sehat aja. Sebetulnya di dalam kita, di badannya udah mulai rapuh gitu ya. Nggak tahu apa-apa, ternyata tiba-tiba gulanya di exercise kena gulanya gitu ya. So incidents just like that. We have incidents. It's just a matter of time, how big and how ready we are to handle the incident. Jadi incidents ini akan terjadi, tinggal masalahnya kapan dan seberapa besar. Kalau kita udah siap ya insidennya ya tinggal, kalau sakit ya tinggal minum apa, Decolgen atau paracetamol, beres ya, oke. That's okay. So these incidents are handled by incident response team. So that's why in companies nowadays there need to be an incident response team. This incident response team will respond to incidents. Jadi ini menangani insiden dan merespons terhadap insiden. Jadi incident response itu tujuannya seperti itu. Dulu, previously incidents are rare and can be handled by ad hoc team. Jadi kalau dulu respon insiden-insiden ini jarang terjadi ya, 7 tahun sekali, 6 tahun sekali. Jadi nggak perlu ada tim. Ketika ada insiden ya kita respon aja kalau ada insiden. But nowadays the incidents are getting frequent, so we need to have this incident response teams ready in our organization. So when people think about security, kalau kita bicara tentang security in my field, usually we talk about everything with these boundaries. Okay. Jadi kalau kita bicara security itu security audit, penetration testing dan lain-lain itu semuanya tentang di dalam sini. And nobody talks about what they're doing outside of our organization. So these days there are also a new approach to this. They call it cyber threat intelligence. Jadi ini dari luar. For example, when we look at our slides earlier, when they said, okay, there is a data breach in Dukcapil or whatever, right? they're discussing there in what we call a group. Okay, an example would be say Reddit. Reddit itu ada salah satu tempat untuk mendiskusikan macam-macam sebetulnya. One of them is cybersecurity, and we can also say this is part of dark web, tempat orang mendiskusikan macam-macam. Jadi di situ bisa didiskusikan. Saya tahu loh cara membocorkan atau saya mengakses account Telkomsel sehingga kita bisa punya akses internet yang unlimited nggak pakai bayar. Nah, itu discussion, those kind of discussions are being discussed outside of our organization. Jadi ini tuh dia cyber threat intelligence is listening to many sources about threats that are related to our system. Misalnya di sana dibahas, akan ada virus baru yang mengancam Java. If you are using this Java version, so and so, please upgrade because there is a known attack in London already being found. Nah, jadi itu dibahas di sini, sehingga kita di sini bisa siap-siap. There is a new vulnerability. Let us prepare. So we update our perimeter, for example, with new rules, or we update our system based on issues out there. Jadi cyber threat intelligence ini nguping di luar tentang potensi attack terhadap sistem kita. Nah, ini yang baru nih. Biasanya layanan security itu hanya di sini, tetapi yang di sini itu layanan baru. Jadi kayak kemarin saya dan mahasiswa saya itu lagi mulai explore ini, memantau macam-macam ya dark web itu untuk keyword-keyword yang diarahkan kepada companies. Misalnya company saya apa? Misalnya saya Bank Indonesia itu, let me check apa orang-orang ngomongin tentang Bank Indonesia di luar sini itu apa sih yang diomongkan gitu ya. Nah, jadi nanti begitu ini, dia ada omong-omongkan, ini ada kemungkinan data bocor Bank Indonesia yang bocor. Nah, kita langsung ngecek benar nggak data kita bocor gitu. Terus langsung kita perbaiki gitu, sebelum jauh. Ya. Jadi ini adalah yang baru ya, cyber threat intelligence. This is a new field. Ya itulah, kalau new field memang biasanya belum ada apa-apa. Oke. Ya. Now, when we want to do something, we want to actually protect our asset. Nah, ini yang susah nih. So, protecting security is protecting our asset. Nah, pertanyaannya adalah what is our asset? Jadi kalau saya ditanya, Pak Budi tolong proteksi sistem kita. Kita tanya dulu, what do you mean by protection system kita? So I'll give you an example. For example, kalau kita punya sepeda, if we have a bicycle and our bicycle is very very expensive. Nggak tahu bicycle yang paling expensive sekarang apa ya? Harganya 150 juta sepedanya. 150 million rupiah for our bike. Okay. So bicycle. So when we ride our bicycle and we want to go somewhere, for example, we go to a coffee shop, we go to restroom, we have to protect, right? We have to have some kind of lock or padlock. Jadi kalau kita bawa sepeda kita yang harganya 150 juta, tentu saja harus kita proteksi kan ya kalau kita mau parkir di mana-mana. Maka kita berikan rantai yang bagus ya. Harga rantainya 1 juta nggak masalah. Sepedanya harganya 150 juta, rantai 1 juta nggak masalah, rantainya bagus, nggak bisa dipotong, nggak bisa digitu kan ya. Oke. But if our bicycle, nah kalau sepeda kita udah sepeda ramah, rombeng, karatan gitu ya. Orang deket-deket aja udah takut kalau kesenggol sama sepeda kita, luka, tetanus, mati. Jadi maling itu malas, ini sepedanya sepeda jenis gitu nggak perlu dirantai gitu ya. Jadi kalau kita beliin rantai 1 juta diketawain orang, Pak sepedanya aja itu nggak ada value-nya. Rantainya 1 juta, it doesn't make sense. Oke. So to protect our asset, we have to know our asset and the value. Tadi physical asset gampang. Now, if we think about IT or IT ya, asetnya apa? Susah sekali ternyata. Kalau kita ingin proteksi aset dari sistem IT apa ya? Ini bahan diskusi yang lama. Jadi dulu saya juga pusing. Akhirnya saya menurunkan. Oke, let's start with a hardware. Oke, jadi kalau akses yang paling gampang itu adalah hardware. Kita lihat ya, dari akses adalah hardware. Jadi kalau kita bilang, we have 7 applications, important applications. So we look into hardware or server related to those applications. Jadi kita buat daftar. Hardware-nya apa, servernya ada apa, di mana, dan lain sebagainya kita buat daftar. And we need to protect those hardware. taruh di data center, diprotek supaya data centernya, servernya nggak bisa diambil orang, nggak bisa dirusak physically, right? So that's why we have hardware our data center and we have our hardware in cages. Jadi kalau kita ke data centernya bisa dilihat hardware kita itu dimasukkan di dalam cage ya, di dalam ruangan di dalam data center. Karena apa? Karena supaya tidak bisa dirusak. Oke. So hardware is one thing. Nah, tadi kan kita mau lihat value-nya hardware. Hardware tuh ada value-nya, ada turun nggak ya? Mestinya ada kan ya, depresiasi kan ada. Nah, itu udah kita mulai pusing. Ini dulu hardware kita beli berapa? 50 juta. Ini udah 5 tahun. Harganya berapa? Nah, susah juga. Oke. Pak, 5 tahun udah habis Pak maksudnya. Jadi hardware itu susah. Karena akan lucu, misalnya gini, ada hardware ya, hardware kita komputernya udah kuno. Ini kalau saya punya kuno ya, saya taruh di pinggir jalan juga nggak ada yang mau ngambil. Sampah Pak, males saya buangnya. Di kantor kan ada hardware-hardware yang kita nggak bisa buang tuh sampah karena jadi inventory kantor, tapi susah dia jadiin ganjel pintu. Ada banyak, di tempat saya juga banyak dulu ganjel kayak gitu. Saya punya AS400, serius, AS400 yang nggak bisa dipakai. Mau saya apain? Berat sekali, luar biasa. Nggak ada yang mengambil gitu ya. So hardware kita punya masalah karena kita susah menghitungnya, kita susah menghitungnya, depresiasinya nggak tahu, sehingga protection kita susah. Kalau harganya 50 juta, protectionnya 1 juta masuk akal. Kalau hardware-nya 1 juta, protectionnya 50 juta, misalnya kita kasih firewall 50 juta, atau kerangkeng 50 juta, nggak masuk akal. Ya, jadi itu akan diketawain orang banyak. So hardware is one thing. Okay? Nanti ada depresiasi segala macam. Sehingga ada juga yang memasukkan, there are some companies or organization that put notebook itu bukan sebagai hardware, bukan aset, tetapi barang habis. Ya, karena susah, barang habis. Jadi ada. Nah, ini kan kita harus lihat dari prinsip-prinsip accounting, boleh nggak ya, gitu-gitu. Ya. Jadi nanti bisa kita diskusikan. So, hardware is one thing. Oke. Now, software, kita naik ke software. Nah, kalau hardware aja udah susah, sekarang software. Now, software itu aset bukan? Nah, bingung kan ya, software itu aset bukan? We cannot see, but we pay for it. So if somebody buy an Oracle saya nggak tahu sekarang harganya berapa, license-nya berapa, misalnya $5.000 per seat ya, per license. Kita punya 10, berarti $50,000. Berarti kan keluar duit kan ya dari software-nya itu ya. Aset juga kali ya. Kita punya Microsoft Office, aset bukan? Bingung kan ya? Udah mulai bingung. Jadi software ini aset itu bukan. Nah, sekarang kalau kita sepakat aset, oke Pak itu aset. How do we value it? Oke. Kan kita akan proteksi asetnya. Nah, ini udah mulai susah. How about if we develop our own software? Value-nya berapa? Waduh, ini aplikasi dikembangkan 3 tahun Pak oleh internal programmer kita, internal tim kita. Asetnya berapa? Nah, itu dia susah ya. Nah, ini ya. Nah, ini acuan banyak lagi. Now, on top of this hardware, we have the software, and then we have the data. The most important thing is data. Now, is data an asset? Nah, itu orang-orang bilang ya. Ya. Jadi siapa yang, kalau menurut Anda data ini aset bukan? Kalau yang bilang aset, kasih jempol. Kalau yang bilang bukan, kasih nangis. Saya pengen tahu aja. Aset bukan? Oke. Ini kebanyakan bilang, iya, nggak ada yang bilang bukan aset. Nah, but how do you value your data? Datanya itu value-nya seberapa harganya? Kata orang tuh, data is the new oil. Kata saya belum tentu. I'll give you an example. Saya tanya kepada mahasiswa, transkrip Anda asli, apa yang asli itu aset bukan? Aset Pak. Oke. Saya punya data transkrip mahasiswa ITB yang sekarang yang oke dalam 10 tahun terakhir. Siapa yang mau beli data, bukan katanya tadi aset ya, ada value-nya. Yang mau beli data transkrip mahasiswa ITB, saya taruh harga 50 juta rupiah. Ada yang mau nggak? Nggak ada yang mau kan ya? Saya yakin kalau saya jual transkrip mahasiswa ITB 50 juta rupiah di sini, ada yang mau nggak? Yakin nggak ada. Oh, jangan mahal-mahal Pak, 50 juta. 5 juta, masih mikir-mikir juga. 50.000, oke Pak dibeli. Berarti asetnya harganya cuma 50.000 dong, harga transkrip mahasiswa itu kan ya. Nah, kalau harganya hanya 50.000, misalnya 50.000, ya, maka proteksinya harus di bawah ini dong. Masa proteksinya kita punya data proteksinya 50 juta, nggak masuk akal kan ya? Pakai firewall segala macam. So that's the problem with our system these days. We have data that we thought they are important, but we do not know how to value them. So that's why it is difficult for us to invest into the protection of our data. Jadi susah kalau kita mau invest. Pak, ini datanya nih, oke kita proteksi. Pas dihitung-hitung, wah ini harus butuh 5 miliar. Walah, Pak, mahal ya. Pasti bos kita, our manager, or top manager, or directors will not invest money. So, ini dia permasalahan dari aset digital. Jadi permasalahan dari kita ngamankan sistem kita, we don't know our asset. So that's yes, silakan.
Sir, actually,
Yes, go ahead.
this is big about the data and software, sir. Because we before talking, if we cannot evaluate this kind of asset like software or data, because but in my opinion, sir, like software or data, they have like value, but depends on the people who need it, sir. Like for example, data for before we have like kebocoran data dari data-data orang-orang Indonesia gitu kan, kayak KTP dan lain-lain. Actually, is it important, right? But is it is same case like in Indonesia, because like cybersecurity right now cannot find the value of our data, something like that. But in our people say, is it important for us, something like that, sir?
Ya, jadi masalahnya sama ya, di mana-mana juga kita. This is not only in Indonesia, but also abroad, also the same. We don't know how to value we don't know this information asset. Jadi ini permasalahan ini tuh bukan permasalahan di Indonesia aja, tapi di luar negeri pun sama. Kita juga bingung ya. How do we value our asset? How do we list our asset? Kita pertama mulai list dulu ya, the data list of our asset ya. Jadi ini asetnya apa aja kan ya? Dari list aset kita apa saja gitu ya. Terus yang kedua, after we know the list, how do we value the asset gitu kan ya? Di asetnya. Jadi ini gimana kita value asetnya? Kan kita juga nggak tahu kan ya. Nah, habis itu baru kita bisa protection kan ya. Kalau kita udah tahu begini kan, how to protect the list, the asset ya. Karena kita udah tahu harganya. Nah ini jadi susah. Apalagi orang IT yang nggak tahu. Ya, jadi contohnya begini. Kita tukang parkir. Tukang parkir kan kita harus mengamankan mobil yang diparkir di tempat kita kan ya. Kita sebagai petugas parkir. Yang pertama, kita nggak punya mobilnya itu bukan punyaan kita. Ya kan ya, tukang parkir ya. Satu, kita nggak punya. Pokoknya kamu bertanggung jawab. Oke Pak, ini yang parkir di tempat ini ada 100 mobil, tukang parkirnya cuma 3. Waduh, susah juga kan resource-nya. Biasalah orang security juga gitu. Wah, aplikasinya banyak, yang ini cuma 3. Ini mobilnya 100 tempat parkirnya. Oke, satu, kita itu mobilnya bukan punyaan kita, tapi harus kita urusin. 2, kita nggak tahu value mobilnya. Waduh, mobilnya ini bahkan gini. Kalau mobilnya angkot udah ini ya karatan, compang-compeng, taruh di pojok aja. Nggak ada yang mau nyuri kan, ambil parkir yang jauh sana, nggak usah kita aman. Mobil yang paling mahal taruh dekat kita, ada Ferrari segala macam taruh dekat kita supaya bisa kita amanin, supaya nggak kegores, dicuri orang gitu kan ya, kita taruh dekat kita. Nah, but we have to know the value of the car kan ya. Ya itu yang obvious. Datanglah Avanza baru, saat oke kamu di tengah aja lah ya. Saya nggak tahu Avanza sekarang berapa, 190, 200 juta kali ya, 200 juta lah katakanlah. Oke, taruh tengah. Datanglah BMW, set BMW lama. BMW seri 3 yang lama atau seri 5 yang lama. Set datang, tar dulu nih. Mobilnya BMW. Harganya berapa nih? Wah, ini diskusi nih satpamnya. BMW kan keren, mahal dia. Ini segala macam. Ya udah kita taruh di dekat kita gitu. Kita kira harga BMW-nya 300 juta, berarti lebih mahal dari Avanza, berarti taruh di sini. Padahal BMW-nya ternyata harganya cuma 45 juta. Karena udah lama, karena kita tahu kan ya. Now, we don't know the value of the cars yang harus kita lindungi sebagai tukang parkir. The same thing, orang IT, orang data center, orang operation, itu nggak tahu nilai dari aplikasi. Yang tahu aplikasi orang punya aplikasi. Misalnya orang internet banking yang tahu orang bisnis dari internet bankingnya, bukan orang IT-nya. Orang IT nggak tahu nilainya internet banking dengan pinjaman online atau dengan investasi saham, aplikasinya malah bagusan yang mana atau mana yang pertahankan, nah kita nggak tahu. Orang IT cuma kita tahu nih server ada ininya harus ini kan kita proteksi. So the first thing to do is actually to assess. Nah, jadi aplikasi yang utamanya itu pertama kali itu adalah ini. Kalau kita lihat ya di ini adalah sama seperti yang lain adalah assessment. Hang on a second. Kok nggak keluar ininya? Oke, pen. Jadi yang pertama kali yang dilakukan adalah melakukan ini assessment kegiatannya. Jadi untuk mengetahui aset ini, to know what kind of asset, list of asset that we need to protect, we have to assess first, right? Now to do this, we have to gather all the users. Jadi kita harus tahu semuanya. Yang tahu asetnya adalah orang bisnis, orang IT, orang teknis nggak tahu. So if you are running the business, you have to know the asset. When you give the list of asset to IT personnel, you have to direct them. Okay, this is the more important part. This is not important. This is so-so. This is important. Gini ya. Jadi gitu. Nah ini berarti kita mulainya adalah acaranya itu kegiatannya adalah awareness and training. Itulah sebabnya security awareness and training ya ini penting bagi semua. Bukan hanya orang IT tapi orang yang punya bisnis yang menjalankan. Jadi menjawab pertanyaan tadi ya.
Ya Pak. Cuman kalau misalnya if like this sir, if we compare with parking, sir, before you said about parking, in like, for example, in mall or department store, they have like, if you have a expensive car or you have like a value from your heart, like you love that car, even though the car is not as expensive as that, the secure parking or the parking system, they have like a valet or VVIP parking, something like that. So depends on the customer. Is it possible, sir?
Yeah, it is possible. The same thing here, but you have to know the value first, right? And somebody tell you the value of it. You don't know the value, but somebody tell you the value, right?
Yeah. So the customer tell.
Yeah.
That's why I want to put it in the VIP area because I love this car, even though that's not as expensive that because the history we cannot value it, the history, something like that.
Correct. So yeah, so you cannot by looking at it, you cannot say the value of it, but somebody has to appreciate it or the value the car, for example, right? The same thing with applications. Somebody has to tell you what kind of applications, what are more important than the others. The thing is, we don't have many resources, so we have to optimize it. Problem kita kan optimize ya prioritization ya, prioritas yang mana, priority of the protections. Say for example, we have 75 applications. Out of the 75 applications, probably only 7 important applications. Okay, so we protect these 7 applications to death, right? Leave the rest so. We do protect this application, but so. But these 7 we have to protect them 24 hours a day. Sama tadi mobil ini, wah ini yang VIP-nya ini harus kita proteksi mati-matian. Yang lain ya oke lah, nanti kita proteksi juga. Tapi kalau kita ditabok lah gitu ya, jadi nggak apa-apa. Tapi kalau yang ini nggak bisa apa-apa nih. Harus nggak boleh gores, nggak boleh apa gitu kan ya itu ya.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Now, to do that, you have to find the person who understand this semua. Jadi contoh waktu itu ini sama di ITB juga kita mau ITB sekarang sudah mulai meningkatkan cyber security-nya. Yang pertama kita tanya, sebentar, aplikasi ITB yang paling penting itu apa? Bisnis proses ITB itu apa? Bingung kan semuanya. Wah apa ya kita pengajaran mengajar apa gitu ya. Sebagai contoh, webnya ITB penting nggak? Webnya ITB, www, ITB, ACPID. Penting Pak. Tapi kalau misalnya webnya ITB itu down, www.itb ACID, pengajaran acara belajar mengajar masih tetap berlangsung nggak? Masih tetap berlangsung. Orang teriak nggak? Nggak teriak. Oh berarti nggak penting dong. Ya memang kita harus proteksi ya. Tapi itu proteksinya level kedua lah, medium atau low. Oke, kita proteksi. Tapi tidak, kalau tidak seproteksi apa? Nah, apanya di kampus ITB pun kita bingung. Kalau core banking udah jelas, core banking. Ya. Aplikasi yang lain, nah nurut dulu. Tapi kan selain core banking ada lagi misalnya aplikasi treasury, aplikasi apa ya, itu kan falas atau kan penting juga ya. Jadi yang mana yang penting kan nggak bisa semua bilang penting. Nah itu yang susahnya itu. Nah di dalam ini tuh kita berdebat, ini berdebat antara semua pemilik aplikasi itu selalu merasa aplikasi saya apa penting, saya juga penting, saya juga penting. Nah ntar dulu ya. yang ibu penting, bapak penting, yang bapak nggak terlalu penting gitu ya. Contoh tuh email. Email aplikasi yang biasanya tuh tidak terlalu sepenting aplikasi core. Tapi kalau aplikasi email mati, itu kondite orang IT itu paling kelihatan. Kalau email mati, itu dia dimaki-maki seluruh perusahaan atau seluruh organisasi. Maaf, email nggak jalan. Orang IT bisa nggak ngurus sistem IT gitu ya. Jadi bagi orang IT, sistem email is very, 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 very important karena dia ini kondite dia dinilai dari itu ya. Bagi orang yang jalan bisnis proses, email mati 1 jam juga nggak apa-apa lah gitu ya. Tapi jangan lamaan ya. Gitu. Kayak saya nunggu ini PowerPoint important nih dari klien. Gitu. Nah ini yang jadi susah. Ya. Jadi awalnya ini yang paling berat adalah emang di sini menentukannya. Assuming we know how to do this and we can fix this, we know the assets, now we start to designing the protection. Ya. Kita mulai masuk ke tahap berikutnya adalah designing the protection of asset ini. Nah, orang langsung beli firewall, beli ini antivirus, entar dulu. The first thing to do is to create a policy and procedure. Jadi sebetulnya kita harus lihat ini dulu ya. Jadi kalau kita desain dari pengamanan itu biasanya dengan pengamanan itu adalah policy and procedure dulu. What we need to protect. For example, nilai mahasiswa itu boleh diakses oleh siapa saja nggak? Oh, nggak boleh, Pak. Lah, siapa yang boleh akses? Saya, Pak, mahasiswa, dosennya, Pak. Tata usaha paling, Pak. Rektor boleh ngasih? Oh, nggak boleh, Pak. Orang tua? Oh, apalagi orang tua nggak boleh, Pak. So we need to design first. Yeah. This application can be accessed from what and where and things like that. So this boils down into policy and procedure. Setelah kita punya ini, dan ini paling susah. Usually for a company there are more than 40 or 50 policy and procedure. We call it PNP, policy and procedure, right? The level can be at the policy level can be prosedur, instruksi kerja, and things like that. But usually there are many, some organization up to 50 policy and procedures. If we list the possible policy and procedure, there are going to be like 150 PNP. But most of them are not relevant to our organizations. Jadi biasanya ada banyak sekali, tetapi mungkin nggak relevan, mungkin antara 50 sampai 70-an lah yang relevan ya terhadap organisasi. Nah, this has to be created first before we implement and buying devices. Once we have policy and procedure, barulah kita bicara tentang implementasi. Barulah kita beli device, antivirus, firewall, IDS, XDR, and so on and so forth. Jadi ini kita beli setelah kita tahu yang mau kita proteksi apa dan proteksinya bagaimana. So in this case we can have a vendor to help us. Yang di sini tuh biasanya urusannya internal semua. Ya karena yang tahu orang internal ya, orang internal. Baru kalau ini kita panggil vendor. Semuanya sudah set up. But sometimes incident happening tadi ya, biar gimana pun juga incident happen and how we actually take good care of this incident ya. Ini di sini siklusnya gitu. Jadi informasi ini, information security is a cycle. Jadi bukan sebuah proses, it is a proses bukan sebuah produk. Jadi nggak bisa kita beli produk, beli antivirus, beli zero day protection or whatever, right? Nggak bisa seperti itu. Karena ini akan terus berputar. Jadi ini yang paling susah dari security at the managerial level. Ada pertanyaan sebelum kita paling 3 slide lagi. Silakan kalau ada yang mau tanya dulu. Oke, tidak ada? Oke ya. Kita selesaikan. Oke, now ketika bicara security sebetulnya ada level-levelnya. Ada there are layers of security, hardware, software, and network. We call it infrastructure, usually infrastructure. But these days, for the last, I think 5 to 10 years, the last 10 years, the problem that we found is in software. Why? Because software are badly written or badly created. Jadi kalau software itu ada namanya development cycle, namanya SDLC. Jadi software development life cycle, SDLC. Most of the students of engineering school are computer engineering school are taught to do this SDLC, software development life cycle. And if you think, if you look into it, usually something about this. Jadi yang hitam ini adalah bagian yang diajarkan di kampus, if we unroll all these SDLC software engineering, it talks about requirement, design, test, and so on. Mau metodologinya waterfall, agile, or whatever, right? It boils down to this. Go. Now, the security part usually is not taught. Jadi yang atas ini nggak pernah diajarin. Nah, inilah sebabnya software-software kita acak-adut. Bukan hanya dari Indonesia ya, di luar negeri juga sama. Jadi software-software acak-adut because security is not taught properly. Jadi saya ngajarin secure software development life cycle ini susah banget ya ngajarinnya. Bukan materinya yang susah, tapi karena pemahamannya itu harus diubah sedikit cara berpikirnya. Tidak lebih susah daripada software development biasa ya, cuma ini kita harus tahu aja. Do not do this, do that. You have to know this, do not that, do that, and so on. Itu aja sih sebetulnya. But ini ya software, saya pikir software makin baik ya, karena ilmunya makin bagus, ternyata makin buruk. Jadi kondisi di luar sana kalau kita bicara security, software yang makin buruk. Now, again, when we talk about technologies, we talk about these technologies. I talk about the technology tentang teknologi ini dan itu. Kalau policy and procedure, we talked about process, and the most important part is the people. When we talk about awareness and things like that, because people are the weakest link. That's why this class is important, because I have to give you a foundation of security. Jadi seperti aware saja ya terhadap security itu penting. Nantinya technical bisa dipecahkan. So in the last 2 slides, there are several security tips, but the most important part, when we found out in our daily lives as a security consultant, most of the problems boil down into these 2 problems. Software yang sudah tidak updated, ya, software yang terlambat diupdate, and weak password. That's it. 80% these are, 80%, 80% of the problems out there are this. So you have to update your software regularly. If there's an update, please update, and do not use weak password. Meaning, do not use password that are in dictionaries. Jadi kalau password ini dictionaries atau bagian dari tanggal lahir kita, do not use that because it's easier to guess this way. Itulah sebabnya data kita yang bocor tadi, masalahnya bukan asal data bocor, karena password kita itu biasanya dari tanggal lahir kita, alamat rumah kita, nomor rumah kita, dan seterusnya. Okay. And then the last one, the concluding remarks, and I think information security is going to be important these days. And to evaluate the security, we have to do it regularly. And there are all kinds of methodologies, from penetration testing to complete security audit. But the most important part, you have to do it regularly. Okay, so that's that for the class tonight. Ada pertanyaan dulu sebelum kita tutup kelasnya? Adakah pertanyaan sebelum kita tutup kelas? Sambil siap-siapkan video untuk kita ambil foto bersama. Nah, sambil nyiapin ya. Oke, there are 2. Mungkin besok kita coding dikit lagi ya. Hari ini supaya dengar aja cerita, tapi untuk supaya ada security awareness saja. Yeah. Tomorrow I'm doing a security awareness this for our clients and future clients in my company. So the story is similar to what I've told you in this class. Oke, sambil saya siap-siap. 3-4 lagi nih, 4 yang belum nyalain kamera, siapa tahu masih mau nyalakan kamera, nanti halaman kedua. Sudah asik, oke, semuanya sudah ada ya, oke ya, let's do this. Biasa ya, 1, 2, 3 ketawa. Oke, halaman kedua, hang on second, halaman kedua, halaman kedua, previewnya, preview, halaman kedua, ya, maaf, ini kok ngalangin. Oke, halaman kedua saya ambil take screenshot lagi. Oke, 1, 2, 3 ketawa. Oke, thank you very much to all of you. Selamat malam, sehat-sehat semuanya ya. Good night. Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam.
Kalau kata orang ini fighting ya.
Good night, sir.
Good night.
you, sir.
Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Nanti materi saya share ya lewat itu grup. Bye.